This video is brought to you by Guardio. Stick around to hear more about their cyber defense Chrome extension. Alright, having recently migrated away from the video game-centric channel identity, though I do still plan to cover gaming topics plenty frequently, I wanted to discuss a topic that bridges two parallel industries in a rather unexpected way. Most of you watching this channel, I believe, will be intimately familiar with video game trends, but for those that aren't, there is this thing called GaaS. No, not gasoline or even a physical object. GaaS, G-A-A-S, or Games as a Service, refers to a distribution and business model where video games are no longer traditional products, but services that can be discontinued or modified at the publisher's sole discretion. Now, the legality of this entire premise isn't even fully sorted out yet. There are compelling arguments that the entire business model is illegal, with preservation at the heart of that logic, but regardless of whether or not it's technically sustainable in the video game world to produce services instead of finished products and then discontinue or modify them with unilateral control over the entire player base, regardless of whether or not it's sustainable for games, there is another application of this business model cropping up in an unexpected location. That location? The underground world of cybercrime, with a new phenomenon, not completely new, mind you, but rapidly growing in the past year alone, called FAS and MAS, Phishing as a Service and Malware as a Service. Alright, before going further, I'd like to once again talk about this video's sponsor, which is Guardio. I talk a lot about cybersecurity, proactive defense, and responsible online decision-making lately. A great deal of this hinges on personal awareness and good user practices, but over the course of our online experience, we will always end up, from time to time, in unsafe digital locations. Maybe a compromised website, a bad link in an email, a simple mistake, who knows, but when that does happen, and it will happen, it's good to have something there to pick up the slack. Guardio is a Chrome extension that offers threat tracking and online protection. Browsers, like Chrome, which is an extremely popular one, are a very large part of our digital lives, and Guardio is meant to secure that space because browsers also hold a tremendous amount of our personal information, which can compromise our security. This goes double, by the way, if you're someone who likes to click save passwords or enable all cookies when you surf the web. Browsers very often store banking information, personal details, login credentials, and more. Guardio, unlike traditional threat responses, which will react when you have already been infiltrated or compromised, works proactively to detect threats before they ever reach your computer. And if you click the link down below right now today, you can have a free scan as well as a 7-day trial of the service. After that, it's $10 per month, but the upper echelon community will receive 20% off. On a personal note here, I didn't actually know that my own information has been part of a data breach recently. Actually, multiple, but there were a few big ones, including my previous merchandise provider. I didn't know this until using Guardio. For those interested, you can protect up to 5 different family members under one single account, and with over 1 million customers already, Guardio is looking to continue its mission of protecting your browser from online threats. Again, link down below to install, and 20% off for the upper echelon community. Big thank you to Guardio for sponsoring the channel. Honestly, that seemed like the best possible sponsor choice I could ever find for the video, but with all that said, let's really dive in. Our story begins in 2018, though the infrastructure for it goes as far back as 2008. When precisely the modern version was initiated, I'm not sure, but 2018 was the year that a service known as Bulletproof Link was created, which revolutionized the world of cybercrime in a way that completely overwhelmed authorities. Operating under a significant number of aliases and mirrors, such as Anthrax or Bulletproof Link, the exact structure of the service remains relatively unknown. Essentially, it is a twisted evolution of cybercrime closely modeled after the long-standing and meticulously sculpted video game blueprint of games as a service, where instead of a completed standalone product being developed and sold individually, or just a piece of code that's distributed, a service was created where access to it and all connected features, of which there are many, could be given out as a time-gated license. Beyond that, the original versions of the website, such as bulletprooflink.com, were offering a hosting feature for between $100 and $800 a month, determined from the website source code, while much more recently, in 2021, Microsoft announced that during research into phishing attacks, that they had found as many as 300,000 newly created subdomains, that's newly created subdomains, enabled by Bulletproof Link. Just to put this in perspective, if even half of that number, 300,000, which isn't even the entire network, just what they found in a single run as per their own report, were to be using the minimum monthly fee, it would be $15 million per month in hosting fees alone. For clarity, the service was offering what is sometimes referred to as a vertically integrated cybercrime solution, where users who obtained access to the website could purchase a template, host that template on a subdomain, and then bombard known data breach email listings or target lists from the dark web, all inside a simple, easy-to-use interface. Now, in some of my prior videos, I received feedback from the audience that my huge disclaimers about how I researched these topics and why, basically my methodology, right at the beginning of the video, killed the pacing, kind of. So with that in mind, I have a much smaller disclaimer right now. For my most recent topic, an investigation into a sort of exploitation ring inside Google Photos, I actually met with an FBI task force officer to hand off all of my findings. During that meeting, we had a whole session about personal security and what my IP address is, because when they raid people, they want to be able to know that the person they are now investigating was actually the source who told them about it in the first place. Basically, if they start taking people down who are visitors of that website or album or whatever it is, it avoids the awkward explaining needed to justify why my IP had shown up at all. Also, please don't worry. Some people were saying watch out for fake law enforcement, but these were actual FBI personnel here. I did verify that. Now, none of that actually mattered though, because I use a VPN all the time anyway, but it made me realize that I need to have some, shall we say, guidelines for looking into this stuff. For Bulletproof Link in particular, it didn't matter because I don't have access to the site itself. On top of that, there has been a significant crackdown on that particular service by the Department of Justice in 2021, with multiple offenders as well as founders pleading guilty and being sentenced to, I think, 20 years in prison. This was with regards to their work on the initial infrastructure of Bulletproof Link from 2008 to 2015. But the point stands, I really don't need to take precautions with that one, because unless I go hunting through the dark web for contemporary mirrors of the prior service, I'm not really in danger. However, for the next subject and the second half of the video, it does matter. To be clear, Bulletproof Link services and hosting providers are still very much active. An investigation by Trend Micro, looking at one such perpetrator offering that type of infrastructure, known as Void Griffin, revealed that Bulletproof hosting, regardless of individual provider, is absolutely critical to sustained cybercrime, scamming, phishing, or denial of service attacks. That word's important though, so let's focus in on phishing, for two reasons. Anyone who doesn't know what phishing is, it's an attempt to trick people into divulging critical personal information online, often by impersonating reputable brands or companies, and almost always through email. In a more dangerous form, it's called spear phishing, where an individual is targeted with a carefully sculpted ploy to manipulate them, but the widespread version of regular phishing is kind of our focus for today. The first reason to focus on that particular subset of cybercrime is because phishing has absolutely exploded in recent years. According to the APWG, the Anti-Phishing Working Group, there were over 300,000 attacks in December of 2021 alone, up over 300% from as recently as early 2020. That's a colossal increase that far outpaces the relative adoption of online services from a global perspective, meaning that cybercrime is growing faster than the actual growth rate of internet affluent users, which is not a good thing. Reason number two, however, is even more important because phishing is widely recognized as the primary gateway for nearly all cybercrime, allowing user systems, corporate systems, or other targets to be infiltrated. The data here is actually kind of terrifying. According to Hiscox, an insurance company, so they would know about these kinds of stats, nearly 3/4 of all businesses targeted by ransom attacks in the United States, achieved through phishing as an entry point, broke down and paid the money, which means that there is not only an explosive rise in the amount of phishing, but also an incredibly profitable reason and infrastructure or foundation for that growth to continue. Stats on this are kind of hard to find, but as an example, translated by a viewer who helped me with this part of the video, data from Germany shows that 50% of small to mid-sized companies on a national scale for that country simply don't have email protection in place whatsoever. And global statistics on phishing indicate that while there are over 300,000 attacks every month in 2021, there are an estimated 3.4 billion emails sent per day. Almost half of all emails sent in the entire year of 2021 were phishing emails, causing 90% of data breaches. And before I go too far with regurgitated statistics, I'll summarize by saying that phishing is quite obviously growing at a near exponential pace because it is an effective and extremely profitable gateway to higher level cybercrime. So how and why is that possible? Well, it's possible in large part because of phishing as a service. And in 2022, a new threat actor has emerged, which is likely gaining rapid market share in the space and contributing to a parabolic rise of this plague. That actor is called caffeine. Caffeine is a pre-configured and campaign-ready end-to-end implementation of phishing, which has only just now, as in the same month that this video is being published, gained widespread attention. The service primarily targets Microsoft 365, which is a fairly common and extremely popular attack vector, with completely managed campaigns, a clean dashboard, and constant updates. This is why I had that disclaimer, by the way. Someone sent me what I suppose would be a secret link to the service, so I could access it if I wanted. And my impulse was to get an account, buy the software, and showcase it to the world right here in the video. Yeah, that thought evaporated in about 3 seconds flat because I realized that even if I tell myself and the audience that I'm going to do this to raise awareness, I would still be quite literally buying a phishing subscription service, and if law enforcement shows up at my door, I really don't want to deal with that. I fully understand it would probably make the video more, impactful and engaging, or entertaining at least, to show the inner workings of this cybercrime platform right there in the open on the screen. But the truth of the matter is, on the heels of my chat with the FBI, I just don't have the confidence to do that on this one. Honestly, I don't. Still, without personally buying the malware and going down that rabbit hole, I wanted to talk about it because caffeine is giving rise, among other services, to an explosion in cybercrime that I don't think we're actually prepared for. This is the easiest that phishing has ever been for people with even a couple $100s and a slight, tiny little criminal inclination. The caffeine service will successfully impersonate major brands like NetEase or Microsoft, and with email phishing being the gateway to nearly all major subsequent attacks, I could cite many alarming statistics about this, but I'll summarize. Global damages from cybercrime are projected to be $7 trillion in 2022 alone. Just for perspective, if that number were to be the GDP of a country, it would be the third largest economy on Earth, behind the United States and China. There are other services beyond caffeine. It's not unique or alone in what it offers, not by a long shot. Another example would be a service called Evil Proxy that even bypasses two-factor authentication. Pretty sure that's the one helping cause a massive spread of compromised YouTube channels that get repurposed into crypto scams. I have a video on that as well. If you've ever seen like a popular channel that you used to follow just turn into a crypto scam and then start live streaming it, yeah, odds are they got hacked and they bypassed two-factor authentication, I think, with Evil Proxy. So that's a whole different thing. Maybe I'll do a video on that. I don't know. But as an emerging option, caffeine is, with clean results and effective design, it is contributing to a widespread cybercrime epidemic that outpaces organic user growth for online activities in general and dramatically increases faster than the efforts to stop it can respond. Bottom line here, protecting yourself and becoming the overly skeptical, stick-in-the-mud kind of person or friend, everybody knows that type of person, with everything that exists online, has literally never been as important as it is today. Better that you treat 1,000 real people with suspicion that they don't necessarily deserve and be wrong, than treat just one person as legitimate that isn't. When it comes to online activity, we could all use a little less trust. That's it. If you want to support, there are links down below, primarily Locals and Patreon, to give me money if you want to, or Odyssey, a YouTube platform alternative. Also another YouTuber to check out who makes great videos. The video sponsor, for those of you using Chrome, do check that out. And social media as well, merchandise, etc., etc. But I'll cut it there and stop rambling. As always, thank you all for watching, and have a nice night.